Coming up on today's episode of Airborne-NextGen, USAF starts ground evals on Uncrewed fighter program. Drones named as top culprit for near-miss incidents. And Joby Aviation passes milestone in crewed testing. And I'm your host, Holland Lee. Welcome to the Aero-News Network's Airborne-NextGen program, a weekly news program covering the next generation of flight, from electric power to vertical lift, uncrewed vehicles, and everything in between. Let's get into today's stories. U.S. Air Force starts ground evals of uncrewed fighter program. The Air Force has begun ground testing a future uncrewed jet design in a milestone towards pilotless dogfighting. Air Force Chief of Staff General David Alvin announced, quote, "Another step towards first flight and rapid delivery to our warfighters," end quote. Beale Air Force Base will be the preferred location for the Collaborative Combat Aircraft Program Readiness Unit, helping to accelerate the CCA project as things take shape. So far, the effort has 2 test vehicles, one from General Atomics, the blue chip manufacturer for U.S. GI RPAs, and Anduril, a relative newcomer to the high-tech scene. The YFQ-42A and YFQ-44A will be used to evaluate proposed focusing on propulsion systems, avionics, autonomy integration, and ground control interfaces, helping to validate the performance of things as they are now while the USAF plans for future developments. If all goes well, the program should move on to flight testing later this year. The program is vital for the Air Force of the future, particularly now that the world has been enlightened in regards to survivability in a battlefield of drones. Currently, the average combat drone deployed afield is a fairly cheap, low-speed design with an eye towards old-school buzz bombing, not totally unlike the old V-1 from World War II. After the break, AMA names Tyler Dobbs as new executive director.
For over 30 years, the massive Sport Plane Resource Guide has provided expert, credible information, evaluations, and critical analysis of all that the sport aviation world has to offer. The all-new digital Sport Plane Resource Guide is coming with extensive multimedia features that are constantly updated, an even more comprehensive online guide to all things sport aviation. Available soon. www.sportplane.com.
Welcome back. Now for some shorter stories in our Next Gen Minute. AMA names Tyler Dobbs as new executive director. On April 28th, the Academy of Model Aeronautics named Tyler Dobbs as its new executive director. He previously served as a part of the organization's government affairs team and will now replace Chad Boudreau in a higher role. AMA is a nonprofit community of hobbyists that come together for a love of designing, building, and flying model aircraft of all shapes and sizes. Its nationwide network supports flying fields, learning opportunities, friendly competitions, and safe environments for club activities. FAA gives in and awards SpaceX more Falcon 9 ops. The FAA recently took the Air Force's advice and granted SpaceX a drastic increase in annual Falcon 9 operations out of Vandenberg Space Force Base. Now a draft environmental assessment is in place to bring Cape Canaveral operations from 50 to 120 per year. This redrafted environmental assessment also includes plans to build a brand new first-stage landing zone directly adjacent to the pad, which would support up to 34 vertical touchdowns annually. Firefly launch unsuccessful, but firm remains undeterred. A Firefly Alpha rocket bearing a Lockheed Martin demo satellite failed to reach orbit earlier this week after a previous scrub by ground equipment. The FLTA-6 mission was going just fine for about 2.5 minutes when a cloud appeared between the stages, followed by a puff of debris as the upper stage continued upward. While everything remains to be hashed out in the usual investigative process, the failure struck many in the space hobby sphere as unusual. Autonomous F-16 program progressing with mods and sims. The last of 4 F-16 Fighting Falcons slated for autonomous modification arrived at Eglin Air Force Base in Florida on April 1st under the Viper Experimentation and Next-Gen Operations Model Autonomy Flying Testbed Program, or VENOM. 3 of the aircraft are in various phases of the modification process, which involves hardware, software, and instrumentation that will enable the aircraft to fly autonomously. One of the new physical mods is the inclusion of an auto throttle that will allow the autonomy flying Venom to regulate the thrust and flight control surfaces. That's it for our Next Gen Minute. Let's get back to the rest of the news. Drones named as top culprit for near-miss incidents. A recent analysis claims that drones are responsible for up to 2/3 of near misses with commercial aircraft at America's busiest airports. The FAA has taken steps to avoid these events, but the spike in unauthorized drone flights certainly is not aiding their cause. Drone-related near misses have been reported for over a decade, since around the same time that the devices started becoming commonplace. Since 2014, 51% of near-miss events have listed drones as the cause, making them responsible for 122 incidents. The number of reports last peaked in 2020 as air traffic hit a low point. There have been several recent high-profile near misses involving drones, many being a little too close for comfort. In November, a commercial jet on final approach to San Francisco International spotted a drone ahead. It was, according to the crew, unable to take evasive action and was forced to watch as the drone passed just a couple hundred feet off the nose. Earlier, in August, a drone came within 50 feet of the left wing of an airliner that was departing New Jersey's Newark Liberty International Airport. Another close encounter was reported by a jetliner near Miami International, and countless more since. After these messages, Joby Aviation passes milestone in crewed testing.
Are you ready to ace your FAA drone pilot knowledge test, get your remote pilot certificate, and start earning money? Well, flying a drone is a great tool that can open up new business opportunities for anyone. Realtor, insurance adjuster, videographer, or commercial weekend drone warrior, you need to fly legally. Whether you're pursuing your initial Part 107 remote pilot certificate or you need a renewal, King Schools has a course just for you. So start learning today at kingschools.com.
Welcome back. Joby Aviation passes milestone in crewed testing. Joby Aviation has reason to celebrate, recently completing its first full transition from vertical to horizontal flight with the pilot on board. This puts the aircraft one step closer to achieving commercial operation. The manufacturer's all-electric air taxi demonstrated its in-flight transition capabilities for the first time in 2017. Hundreds of these flights have been completed since then, with all of them being uncrewed until now. With Chief Test Pilot James Buddy Denham at the controls, the aircraft took off from Joby's test facility in Marina, California on April 22nd. This air taxi is the latest to roll off Joby's Marina production line, registered as November 544 Juliet X-ray. It used helicopter-like vertical propulsion to get off the ground before beginning its transition to wingborne forward flight. The aircraft then reverted to vertical configuration to land back on the runway. Joby didn't stop there, quickly sending up 3 pilots for 6 more tests in the following weeks. This sets the company far ahead of other electric air taxi manufacturers, with Joby now routinely testing the hover to cruise transition while crewed. And that's our show for today. You can catch episodes of Airborne on YouTube, Roku, or Fire TV. Just search for Aero-News or Airborne. And don't forget to follow us on social media. Thanks for watching.